Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vasangsi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya Navani Krishnati Naroparani Tata Sharirani Vihaya Jirnani Anyani Sangyati Navani Dehi. This is the ABC of spiritual knowledge. That we are spiritual beings and we transmigrate from one body to another. The example given is very easy to understand. We have clothes when they're old, we replace them. Of course, some people are so poor that they don't, but generally, when clothes are old, we change. When they no longer serve their function, we change them. So in the same way, we change bodies. So, like I say, it's ABC, spiritual knowledge, and for people raised in the dharmic cultures, it's just accepted as axiomatic. By dharmic cultures, I mean, well, just like there are the Abrahamic religions, that is Judaism, Christianity, Islam. So also as a grouping, we can say dharmic religions and cultures, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, it's accepted. We go to another body. But in the Western countries, for all their advancement of science and technology, and advancement in means of manipulating the material energy for material comfort, this knowledge was not known. And even when I was going to school in the 1960s and 1970s, from the age of 4 to 17, the concept of reincarnation was not much known, and it was just beginning to become more widely known, but it was not at all widely accepted. And when let's backtrack a bit. The concept of reincarnation has always been there in Western culture, despite the Christian church's efforts to crush that or to stomp it out of the consciousness. But there always have been people who accepted that or believed in that. And one of the very few things I remember from my incarceration in school all those years was reading, compulsorily being one of the things we were forced to do, was to read this Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, one of his plays, in which there is a reference to someone says, "Don't kill that partridge, it might be your grandmother." It's supposed to be a joke, and it's explained that it's a reference to the idea of reincarnation. So it was around in Elizabethan times also. But there was a footnote to that, and then the teacher had to explain it, the idea that some people believe that when you die you go into another body. But it wasn't elaborated on. In the 19th century, when the Upanishads first became available in translation in the Western world, it was revelatory. The Gita, some of the Upanishads, and some of the greatest thinkers in the Western world at that time, in America, Emerson, Thoreau, and in Germany, Schopenhauer, it was a major revelation for them. Oh, reincarnation. We're born and we die, and we're born again. Major revelation, although, like I say, it's just taken for granted in the dharmic cultures, maybe too much taken for granted, because people don't think about it much. Just like all of you who I'm sitting with in this room here, you being raised as Hindus, you had a general idea of reincarnation. I don't think anyone even spoke about it to you. Did anyone? No one ever spoke about it, but somehow it's there. Exactly how, I don't know, because no one tells you, listen, son, I'm not really your father and you're not really my son, and in the next life you might be my father. No one sits and tells you that. But somehow it's there. How is it there? Maybe in telling stories from the Mahabharata or something, and how, for instance, the Amba becomes Shikhandi, and it's just accepted, isn't it? In those days, you'd learn the stories from Amar Chitra Katha. Was it? In your generation?
Yes.
That was the big thing in those times. Those little comic books with stories from the Puranas. Mostly Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and some historical ones like Jhansi Rani and things like that. So you'd pick it up from that. But so the idea is there and it's accepted, and here in India when we talk about reincarnation, it's not a big revelation. People just, it's just accepted that it happens. If you're a Hindu, you believe it. If you're a Muslim, you don't believe it. That's one of the major differences between Hindus and Muslims. It's not all about cow killing. That's also one of the differences. But it's a big revelation to people who were raised in the culture of not knowing that. But now in the Western world it's different, because the world is globalized, and there are particularly from the 1960s onwards, there are many Eastern gurus who went to America, and Srila Prabhupada, actually he was the only real guru, but there are many gurus, and even though most of them didn't really teach anything much, but some of them taught some things. They weren't all just popularistic hucksters. Some of them taught some things. Chinmay, Sri Chinmay and Muktananda, they actually taught some things. Srila Prabhupada gave Bhagavad-Gita as it is, and particularly at this point he explained again and again and again and again that we're not the body. And if we actually understand it and realize it, it's going to revolutionize our life, because basically we live in this world with the idea of enjoying it. And that can even continue when we accept that there is rebirth, because here in this chapter Krishna talks about people who think, oh, there's another birth. Okay, let me do good activities in this world and then I'll get a good birth the next time round. So the teachings of the Upanishads, they teach us not only is there repeated rebirth, but that the whole cycle is miserable and that we should get out of it. And on that point, all Vedantists agree. The two major divisions among Vedantists, those who are the Kevala Advaitavadis, who just think we have to get liberated and become one with everything. And there are the Vaishnavas, who think we have to get out of this world and go to serve Krishna or Narayana in the spiritual world. So anyway, this example is given. It's an easy example to understand. Like many analogies, there isn't exact correspondence, but it gives a general idea. The idea is that when you have old clothes, you change them. The clothes are the covering of the body is a covering of the soul. So just like you change old clothes because you need new clothes, so you change old bodies because you need a new body. And there's not exact correspondence, but you get the general idea. Some of the differences in correspondence are that we don't do it ourselves. We don't go and buy some new clothes. And sorry, changing body is not exactly like buying new clothes, that you go to a bazaar and you look at the cloth and you buy something according to your budget, And if according to your taste, it's not like that. It's forced upon you. But the general idea is given. The clothes are worn out, you need new ones. The body is worn out, you need a new one. So that idea is given. It's not, we just can't change the body like changing clothes. Just, oh, well, I think my body's worn out. Oh, yeah, I think I'll get a new one. We don't choose. We can, as I was discussing yesterday, we can forcibly leave this body by suicide. But that is not at all a good idea. It's something like taking off your clothes without any new ones to put on. Because you don't get a gross body, then you're stuck in a subtle body. Not at all a good idea. Krishna, prior to this, has given another analogy. No, it's not exactly an analogy. It's a description. It's not an analogy. But another way that we can understand this process of changing bodies, the very well-known verse, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumarang yovanam jara tata dehantara prapti dhiras tatra namuhyati. Krishna describes what's going on, that the body is always changing, actually. Now,